Hi and welcome back to the shed. The postman's been, and we've got another book haul opening and unboxing. And I think this time it was 20 books, if I remember correctly. I haven't opened it up, so again, a real live first-hand view of what we have in the box. Okay, what do we have? Hopefully they're in good order. Bubble wrap. I hate bubble wrap. Gee, I should have brought a knife with me. But anyway, let's have a look. Okay. It's sometimes several weeks go by between me getting the parcel and when I purchase it. So half the time I actually forget what I've ordered. So they look to be in decent order. So what do we have here? The History of Science Fiction Magazine, Michael Ashley, Part 2. This should be interesting. What's this about? Oh man, I keep making the same mistake and not wearing my glasses. It looks like an anthology. Yeah, it's interesting. It might be just the actual history of the science fiction magazine. Part 2, 1936 to 1945. Actually, that looks rather interesting. Yeah, it seems to be just a historical account of the magazine, and it looks like it may have some actual short stories in between the history. Yeah, look, that looks rather interesting. Comments if you've got that one or if you read it. Robert Heinlein, Glory Road. What's this one about? In Glory Road, he embodies those concepts in a breathtaking tale of ordinary man thrust into a totally alien world. Unfathomable adventures, incredible imagination, sex and brutality, heroism and recklessness, a triumph. Glory Road. I think I have read this one. It's not on my... I think I had this on Kindle somewhere, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, anyway, Robert Heinlein. Can't go wrong with Heinlein. James Blish. Dr. Mirabilis. Now, Blish, most of you probably know. He actually won a Hugo, I'm pretty sure it was 1959, for A Case of Conscience. We'll be reviewing that as part of our Hugo and Nebula winning ladder. I have enjoyed James Blish over the years. Yeah, being a Star Trek fan, you probably remember from our last review. He's also written a couple of series. Well, it's sort of interesting, his history with Star Trek, because he sort of took the television series and turned them into novels, and sometimes vice versa as well. So yeah, it's not new to Trekkie fans, but James Blish, Hugo Award-winning novelist. I honestly don't think I've read that one though. It looks interesting. Catherine Moore. Shembaloo Seal Moore. She won a Hugo, a retro Hugo, for one of her novelettes. I think I may have read this one actually. What's the sound on the back? The girl was very beautiful. Can you see that yet? The girl was the girl was very beautiful and apparently defenseless. So why should a blood-hungry mob seek to destroy her? So Northwest Smith, okay, saved her life. So she had this character called Northwest, and he was in several of her books. And that looks like he's again the main protagonist in the book. And this one looks like something to do with Medusa, maybe the Medusa story told in a science fiction setting. But yeah, Catherine Moore, I can't remember what the L stood for. Lucienne or Loretta or something like that. If you remember that one, let me know. The famous horror fantasy classic. There you go, Catherine Moore. She actually, remembering that title, the horror sort of classic thing, reminded me. She also did an episode of The Twilight Zone, actually. A bit of trivia for you. Okay, another bundle. Yeah, Shamblo. I love that cover art though. I've got to show it to you again. That is a pretty neat cover art, I must say. I do like that. Yeah, it looks like it's going to be some kind of Medusa sort of sci-fi setting. Should be good. I mean, she was one of the first women writers of sci-fi, so she goes back to the golden age of science fiction. Yeah, she was one of the premiers really in that space, so she paved the way for a lot of her predecessors. Not predecessors, successors. A. Van Vogt, Quest for the Future. Quest for the Future. Ah, okay, I think I've read this one actually. Worlds of different probabilities and constant search for immortality are the twin themes of this mind-toppling story. Expanding the enigmas of time, Van Gogh carries the reader to the furthermost edges of past and future and outwards. So what this one was from memory was, again, A. Van Gogh, one of the most popular science fiction writers of that golden era, Astounding magazine, all those sort of pulp magazines. He was very prolific. I can't speak tonight. I'm way too tired. It's been a big week. He was quite prolific in his writing back in the day. Quest for the Future. Yeah, and I think it was something like he was going to take this trip to Alpha Centauri or some close star system, and he thought he was going to be the first one to get there, but when he does get there he finds that it's already been inhabited, and yeah, it's a time travel sort of interesting novel. That's pretty much all I remember about that, but if you want to see a review of that, I'll be up for rereading that one. That's I love that era of science fiction. So oops, sorry. Brian Aldiss. Now, Brian Aldiss was also another, what do you call him, grandmaster of science fiction. Brian Aldiss, The Heirs of Earth. Take a trip with Britain's leading writer of science fiction, 8 imaginative excursions into the future. Okay, so it's 8 different short stories, it looks like there. The one that comes to mind immediately that I remember reading from Brian Aldiss was Hot House, which was a pretty decent novel. Yeah, there you go. Excellent cover art though. I mean, I don't know what I enjoy more with these classic science fiction novels, the novels or the actual artwork on the covers. It's definitely part of the appeal for me. But yeah, Brian Aldiss, he was pretty popular. Asimov. Foundations and Empire. Now that's different to the version I have behind me here, I'm hoping. Where is it? Foundations and Empire. Yeah, it is. No, that's good. So I don't mind having a double up if the artwork's different. So that's the one I currently have, which I didn't part with all those years back when I culled my collection. And this is a slightly different cover art. Foundations and Empire. Classics, absolute classics. Yeah, and that was the original. Anyway, Asimov, love Asimov, can't go past Asimov. Okay. Oh yeah. What have we got here? Overlay, Barry Malzberg. I haven't read Malzberg before. I am familiar with the story though, I've not read it. But this guy, the horse sort of reminds me. I think the protagonist was this gambling horse gambling sort of guy. There's an interest in horse racing in it. Winner of the John W. Campbell Award for Beyond Apollo. Yeah, have you guys read this one? I've not read this one before. I don't think I've read anything from Malzberg, so if you want to see or hear a review of that one, let me know. I mean, I don't mind reading new authors, right? At least new to me. I like the cover art. That's cool. Yeah, I'm not familiar with it. I'd love to hear your comments on that one. Oh, that's good. This is part 1 of that History of Science Fiction magazine. Okay, this looks easier to read at least. The first of a series, what is it? So first of a series of 5 books covering the development of science fiction writing from its beginning to the present day. This volume traces the story of the great pulp fiction magazine, what's that? Of the Depression years. Sorry, it's just black on orange. I can't read black on orange on the best of days, let alone poor lady. This was the whatever. But look, these look really interesting. I think. Really, I love this science. I mean, this for me was the golden age of science fiction, and just being able to read the history of some of this stuff. I think, astounding magazine, amazing stories. I mean, that's the stuff that got me hooked onto this stuff. Yeah, look, I'm really glad. I didn't actually note these when I bought them online. So I'm actually pleased to see those. I think that's just going to be pretty interesting to go through and learn a bit more about this wonderful hobby that we have in science fiction reading. The books have been in okay condition. I think the last lot we looked at was slightly better, but they don't seem to be water damaged or watermarked in any way, so they're looking pretty good. Speaking of which, you may remember this from the last time we did a book haul, which was Moorcock's second book in the Dances of the End of Time trilogy. And one of the reasons I actually bought this lot is because I thought in that review, I did follow up and read Moorcock's Behold the Man, which there's a review up on our site here. And I wanted to read this series, but I didn't want to start with the second book. And what drew me to this lot was the fact that it's also got the first book. What's it called? An Alien Heart, The Dances at the End of Time trilogy. So I thought I might have a double, so maybe we'll have a future giveaway where we'll give away one of these duplicates. But we also got the final version, The Dances at the End of Time trilogy. So now I have the complete set, so I'm looking forward to reading those as a set. So that's really one of the main reasons I bought this bundle lot. So that's the first, An Alien Heart. I really loved the cover art. Honestly, I think that just for the cover art alone, this trilogy was worth it for me. Do you feel the same? What are your thoughts on it? Have you read it? I've not read this trilogy. Such a cool cover art. Yeah, I love it. And the second one, look, I'm going to keep showing you those because they look fantastic to me as a set. I'm really looking forward to just putting those up on the shelf, not even reading them, but I will definitely get around to reading them. So if you'd like to see my review of those, hit the notification bell and subscribe and do all those things, and I will no doubt get back to it. Larry Niven. We covered Larry Niven in the past on this channel with The Ringworld, which is part of the Hugo and Nebula award-winning novels. Neutron Star. Don't know if I read this one. Something on the back of my mind tells me I may have though. What's it about? One of the brightest new English in blah blah blah. Holy created creatures. Ah yes, holy created creatures like Thrints. Bandersnatchy puppeteers. Yeah, this is one of the puppeteers. Okay, this is why I remember this. I have read this one. So in Ringworld, Larry Niven introduces us to this alien race called the Puppeteers, and they actually feature in this Neutrinos book, Neutron Star rather. So yeah, I have read this book. The Puppeteers are in there, and from memory, it's they make some guy do something. They sort of blackmail this Earthling, and he wanted to sort of keep the peace, but in the end, it's got a bit of a twist in there. The Neutron Star, Larry Niven. Yeah, good book. I think I did enjoy this when I read it. If you want to read a review or hear a review, let me know. Maybe we'll put a tally. I can't do all of them. I will eventually, but maybe we'll run a bit of a tally and see which ones you prefer to see first. Ringworld, a more vintage cover to what I've got back on my list back here. Where was it? Larry Niven, Ringworld. No, I can't find it right now. It's there somewhere. But it's a slightly older version than I have in my pile. This was a sphere novel. It's a bit tattered, to be honest. The sleeve is falling apart. Yes, the 1971 Nebula and Hugo Award-winning novel. Yeah, this is a 1976 reprint. Yeah, it's a bit battered and torn. Whoever owned this one enjoyed it. It's a good book. I can see why that is. Yeah, it's a bit battered, a bit ragged, but still a fantastic novel. Was it just Ringworld? Yeah, just Ringworld. It's not one of the sequels. The last lot, the Einstein Intersection. This is my third copy of this book now. I have yet to cover it, actually. This one, the Nebula, in 1967. It will be coming up on our board soon. So I've got two versions of it. Oh, not Babel 17. What am I doing? Einstein Intersection. Yeah, the same cover. But I do have one that is slightly different, which is actually my book cover just in front of me here. So maybe one of these will go up in some kind of giveaway at some point in time. But yeah, good book, the Einstein Intersection. Be interesting to see how it racks up against Babel 17 when we do the list. But yeah, that's Babel 17. Can't go wrong with a Nebula or Hugo winning book, so no regrets getting a couple of extra of those. Another Brian Aldiss, Equator. Another fantastic piece of cover art. I don't know if I've read this one. An invasion of Earth was imminent and only one man could prevent it. A team of saboteurs had infiltrated enemy territories, attempting to bring back to Earth a warning of the impending attack. Death had reduced the number to two and fears of treachery had divided them. Finally, only one man could save Earth. The secret of the hordes of death must be brought back. But he could trust nobody, not even himself. Brian Aldiss, Equator. It's only a small book, 100-something pages, 120 pages. If you're interested in a review, these are quick to knock over, I can read these in a couple of days. So if you're interested in a review of that, just drop me a note. I've read a fair bit of Brian Aldiss, but I can't recall more off the top of my head. I wonder if you're the same. Whenever I read I got no idea half the time. I pick up a book and I think, don't know if I've read or not read this book. Then I get a couple of pages in, I think, yes, I've read this book. So that might be the case with that, but yeah, not off the top of my head can I remember. Now this looks like another fantastic Moorcock cover. And what's it say? Mighty Ulrich, mightier sword. Ulrich, the most unusual hero in the greatest tradition of heroic fantasy. Ulrich, the albino sorcerer and battle-thirsty prince. So this is more like a fantasy, one of his fantasy novels. The Stealer of Souls. Ulrich, Moorcock's mightiest creation. Yeah, have you read this one? I do like the cover art of these Moorcock novels, though. Another one, Michael Moorcock, The Land Leviathan. I suspect just by looking at that, that's going to be a fantasy novel. Oh no, maybe it isn't actually. What's it say? A new dark age dawns in an alternate 20th century. The world is governed by plague, anarchy and superstition. Bands of diseased mutant brigands despoil the continents while pirate U-boats prowl the oceans. But from this chaos emerges the Black Attila, commander of the African hordes and wielder of the most terrible weapon ever. It is a land leviathan, a ziggurat on wheels, a moving mountain of armoured artillery which enables the realisation, after centuries of oppression, of black power on an unimaginable scale. Unimaginable, that is, for anybody but Michael Moorcock. Yeah, maybe that sounds maybe like an interesting one. A. van Vogt, The Silky. This one I have read. These guys, there's some kind of creature that like mutates and changes shapes or something. What's it say on the back? The Silky, a living spaceship of imperious to heat and cold, virtually indestructible and capable of travelling at supersonic speeds. The Silky is similar to a human being but not the same, highly intelligent. The Silky able to live under the oceans with the ease of a dolphin and the speed of a shark. a modern angel or a computerized demon, friend of Earth or a pitiless alien destroyer. Yeah, I think I have read this one. And these silky things were, they sort of, what were they? They were like creatures that were either genetically modified or, I can't remember, they were modified somehow and they're brought back to life and they have these sort of super abilities. And I do remember reading that, but it's been a while, so don't hold me on the details. But that looks like a pretty decent book. If you want to see a review, let me know. And The Wizard of Lynn by Vogt. Don't know this one. The Earth, after an atomic holocaust, had reverted to a strange kind of barbarism where man could build spaceships but could not communicate except by the most primitive of means, smoke signals. That looks interesting. Yes, I think that's the lot. That's a lot. Hey, there you go. Interesting. I hope you enjoyed that. If there's any book in that lot that you'd like to see, drop me a note and I'll do my best to get to it as soon as I can. And I've been Peter, and as always, thank you for joining me in the shed.